Hi all, Jin here, and I'm here with a video I never expected I was going to do anymore. The How to Play Fran video. Now before we get into the actual purpose of the video, I want to give a quick recap how I actually have her EX now. If you want to skip it, as usual, there are timestamps in the pinned comment for easy navigation, where I go over Fran's kit, recommendations, and how to play her, etc. Also, if you haven't seen my initial edited down pool video, I'll link it in the description below as well. You can check it out since there will be spoilers in a bit. But first off, I need to give a massive shout out to Brian, one of my subscribers who is the reason for helping me to get Fran's EX to make this video. He's been very supportive of me ever since he found my channel, and a great guy as well. So most everyone who's familiar with me or my channel is aware of how my pools for Fran EX went, and that they were not good. I used up all 790 of my tickets and I still didn't get her EX. And I mentioned in the video that my plan was just to stop whenever I got her EX, but I ended up being in the 1.9% chance of it never showing up. And so I explained that I had zero intent of ever going back into the banner as well, since I would not spend a single gem on this cursed banner. Even though I have a decent amount, I wasn't going to spend gems after spending 790 tickets. But after seeing my pool video for Fran, Brian reached out to me and he offered to pay out of his own pocket 35,000 gems just to give me the chance of pulling her EX to make this video, and he mentioned if I didn't get it then no worries. That already floored me how generous of an offer that was with no strings attached. So I said if he did do that, I would pity her so that the money doesn't go to waste. And obviously by the costume, I'm not free to play, but I pretty much only buy costumes and I wish they were sold separately because we all know gems are not cheap. So how much more did it actually cost me to get her EX? Well, see for yourself. It's a big fat 260 G tokens right there. This banner was so bad. The total damage from this single banner has now become 790 tickets and 65k total gems for this semi-nude Vieira. And I got another 2 Ashe EXs along the way, which makes it 4 Ashe EX total. And so I become that guy who many will refer to when they talk about a banner disaster. And this Fran right here is possibly the most expensive GL unit in terms of in-game resources spent since Pity was introduced. I'm not proud of it at all, but I'm just saying it because I don't regret it, since it's shown me how amazing this community is. The outpouring of support for my pool video, including Brian's offer, is beyond more than anything I could have imagined. So while there should be a giant mound of salt, it's all pretty much washed away by all the kind people in this community. So I just want to thank you all, and especially Brian, who made this all possible. And hopefully I can do justice with this video. So without further ado, let's get started. I will quickly go over Fran's banner mate, Ashe, who I received 4 copies of her EX, and she only received an EX Plus this time around. At EX Plus 03, she gets an HP Plus and a splash on her initial attack of the EX, which now hits harder as well. At 1-3, she gets 60% attack up and 30% max brave up. At 2-3, it allows the buffs she gives to be an additional 3 turns, so like 9 total for her generic buffs. And you start off the quest with her EX unique buff as well as a free ability use, which in essence gives you a free choice of what free buff you want to give the party. Normally I'd go with her S2, which grants 40% physical attack and max brave buffs. But if you're running a heavy magic party, then you can consider starting with her skill 1, which grants 40% magic attack buff. 3-3 unlocks her Brave++ and HP++, while allowing the follow-up attack on her EX to hit harder, with increased overflow and splash. So if you 3-3 her, then both of her EX attacks will have splash. So if you only 0-3 her, just her first attack will have splash. Her sphere is a nice D-sphere, which gives the party attack up 5% after granting a buff. It's great for Ashe because she grants buffs on both her skills. And it can go to any similar unit that grants buffs on both skills, such as Pinello for example. Arts, you're going to want 108s as primaries, and then 330 or buffed attack as secondaries. She's somewhat of a magic DPS, so she does 1 attack, but she has terrible max brave, so pick your poison I guess. I'd probably say 330 is better, and probably more future proof as well, in comparison to buffed attack, but you definitely want 108s first. Okay, so overall, I'm just going to be honest, I love Ashe. She was my main unit I used in Final Fantasy XII. I spent 250 tickets on her initial EX and failed, but there's just too many issues with her kit that she's not even worth me putting a book into her, especially since she was never kind to me either in getting her EX. The first one I got was like 360 tickets in, so I'm not gonna spend a book on her now either. Her paralysis on her EX is nice, but it's slow and only single target, which her whole kit is actually only single target. And if you're wanting to use her for content, you do want to 3-3 her for her HP++. which is a 2 brave hit HP attack, because she has low skill uses and her EX is slow. Plus you want her follow-up attack to hit harder and do splash damage as well, not just her first attack. But then the issue with her follow-up attack is that it has a 150% overflow at 3-3, but you're never going to really reach it since she'll dump her brave on her first attack, then her follow-up attack, the max it can reach is only 50k damage because it only does 5 hits. So not sure what's going on there. Square's gonna have to rework that in the future. If they give her brave refund after her first attack, then it would be much better. Then she would have the ability to do a lot more damage and utilize that 150% overflow on her follow-up attack. Otherwise right now it's just stuck at 50k damage max. And on top of it all, just looking at her kit alone, she's locked out of magic resist fights due to all her skills being magic. She's locked out of physical resist fights due to all her brave plus and HP plus being physical. She's locked out of thunder resist fights due to her EX. And she's locked out of holy resist fights due to her skill 2. So it's just like, wow, come on Square, why you do her dirty like this? So even if she's a favorite, it'll be hard to bring her to a lot of fights because she'll just be locked out of them. That being said, I mean, outside of that, she's like many characters nowadays. If you 3-3 her, she'll be fine if you build a team around her. The debuffs and buffs she grants, which are all generic by the way, are not bad and will help your other party members hit harder for sure. The guaranteed paralysis, of course, can be super clutch in times and is infinite since it's attached to her EX, but that's about all she has going for her. She doesn't even bring heals, so she's like a 3rd slot filler in your party that doesn't quite fill it well either, and you're better bringing off somebody else in her place. So in short, she's an entirely a fave investment in my opinion, and even you wouldn't be able to bring her to a lot of fights due to all her mixed kit and elements. Okay, that's enough about Ashe. On to the prize of the banner, and the destroyer of my resources, Fran. She doesn't receive a rework, but she does receive a level 70 for the first time, and of course her EX+. I can quickly go over her base kit first. Her skill 1, Feral Strike, is an 8 brave hit plus HP attack that will grant herself the unique buff Aerial Archer, giving her attack and max brave up 40% for 6 turns, along with a brave plus and HP plus. It will also inflict the unique debuff Viera's Punishment at 1 stack for 4 turns on a single enemy, or increase the stacks by 2 if the debuff is already applied, with a max of 5 stacks. Her whole kit actually revolves around this debuff, so I will cover it in detail a little bit later after going through the rest of her skills. Her skill 2, Whip Kick, is 9 alternating AoE brave hits and a split AoE HP attack with 120% overflow. It inflicts all targets with the 8-turn generic debuffs of 20% attack down and magic attack down, while inflicting 8 turns of her unique debuff for 2 stacks, or increasing the stacks by 3 if the debuff is already applied. Her EX ability Shatter Heart is a 4 AoE brave plus split AoE HP attack with 150% overflow, and it extends her unique buff from skill 1 by 2 turns. Now to go over her important unique debuff, Viera's Punishment. The goal is to pretty much reach 5 stacks for maximum potential, and while both her skills apply it and add multiple stacks, you can use any other attack, including those from your allies, to increase by additional stack if the debuff is already applied, meaning you can get to 5 relatively quickly when you're accounting for your party members attacking that target. At 5 stacks, the debuff inflicts ranged resist down, 20% defense down, 10% attack down, 20% max brave down, and 10% magic attack down. And all this is neatly packaged into one single unique debuff. It also unlocks all of Fran's plus abilities when there is an enemy with 5 stacks. Feral Strike Plus gets 150% overflow, Whip Kick Plus goes from 120 to 180% overflow, Shadow Heart Plus goes from 4 AoE brave hits to 6. Which doesn't sound like much, but it's actually a big deal when we go into her EX+. For Fran's level 70, her notable additions are her C68 passive, which moderately increases her attack. Her C65 and C70 recovers an additional use of her skill 2 Whip Kick and grants the party ranged attack plus 15% for 4 turns. Her Bloom is a must get for her because it recovers 2 more additional uses of her skill 2, so 3 total. Now, onto her EX+. At 0-3, her EX ability hits harder and now grants the unique buff Mist Acuity for 6 turns, or extends it by 2 turns if it's already applied. And this gives a party aura of a max brave up of 40%, her only party aura, but it's definitely a win for debuffing DPS. And her EX ability will now also inflict 3 stacks of her unique debuff. At 1-3, she gets an attack and max brave up of 30%. It seems a bit low compared to others, but she mainly relies on hitting weakness, and her unique buff at 0-3 already increases the max brave for everyone in the party anyways. At 2-3, it raises her EX recast rate and grants her both unique buffs at the beginning of the fight, while also inflicting 2 stacks of her unique debuff on all the enemies at the start of each wave. At 3-3 you get her HP++, which increases her AoE brave hits to 2 with 120% overflow, and her EX is now executed twice with 200% overflow and hits a lot harder. So this is what I mean when Shatterheart Plus gets 2 extra brave hits. Now when it's executed twice, you'll get actually 4 additional brave hits. So how much should you invest? She's actually not a bad 0-3 unit due to her utility. I even ran her Chaos at just 35 CP since she can just give those beautiful debuffs and range resist down at the same time. And so at 0-3, you already have access to her party aura buff, as well as allow her EX to be able to apply or reapply the unique debuff, saving skill uses if needed. But if it wasn't already clear, she becomes a hell of a lot better at 3-3, and it's my recommended investment for her. 2-3 is very important where it grants her EX recast up, making it ridiculously fast, and enemies starting with her unique debuff applied changes her whole playstyle for the better. 3-3 gives her her HP++, which deals pretty good damage with multiple enemies, especially while hitting weakness, and makes her super fast EX hit for a disgusting amount. By running her with Selphie's aura buff, or removing both of her speed passives, such as this one, slightly raises attack, moderately raises speed with active buffs, and then this one, slightly raises speed with active buffs. If you remove both of these passives, then she will actually be able to have a 1 ability into EX rotation without Selphie. If you run her with Selphie, then you can go ahead and have those passives applied, no problem. And if she's not 3-3, that EX isn't hitting nearly as hard, and it isn't executing twice either. So you're really missing out on a ton of damage every other turn essentially. Even with her speed passives on, it's just 1 ability and 1 HP++, and then the EX will be up anyways too. So you don't necessarily have to remove those speed passives if you don't want to, because one of them actually gives her a little bit of attack boost also. So for me, it's either keep her at 0-3 for a budget utility unit or go the full 3-3. I don't think there should be any in between with Fran. Fran has a great debuff sphere, which is why I'm hesitant on who I want to put it on at the moment. Most likely I'll put it on her, but I haven't decided yet. It gives 6 turn max brave down 30% when breaking or attacking a broken target. You can put this on her to increase her total max brave down to 50% when you include her unique debuff. She also has another E slot, so if you added say another debuff sphere, like defense down from Ultimecia, which also stacks with her unique debuff, or speed down from Tidus or Setzer, you can make her into like a pseudo dispeller, since she'll be inflicting 5 total debuffs, assuming the enemy isn't immune to any of them. I think this would be the most useful route for her, making her a huge debuff applying machine, because Lord knows how much I've used Sarah for that very purpose of pushing off enemy buffs while neutering them at the same time. The only issue would be if you wanted to run her with the likes of Sarah or other debuffers, then they would push each other's debuffs off if she gave 5, but I still think that it's the most ideal use of her sphere slots. But if you don't like that route, then of course she would want the standard attack ups when applying debuffs. So like Irvines, Yuffies, Emperors, etc. Those that proc while applying debuffs can give her the attack up she needs. Plus the A sphere, you can always give the extra attack up as well, because she as a DPS will always want more attack. Also, it has to be said, don't give her Vincent or Camelot spheres, for example, because they apply attack down, and this will overlap with her own already attack down generic debuff, so it'll be a waste. Recommendations for her arts: as primarily a DPS, she will want 108s as her focus. Then you generally want her C50 as secondary, since it boosts not only 5% attack and max brave, but also eye brave and defense as well. 330, of course, is a great option as well, since it will grant you even more overflow. And since she hits weakness, she doesn't have too much difficulty capping, but honestly I think a mix of what I have here is probably the best for most situations and team comps. 2 C50s and a 330, since you get your extra attack mostly, and then you also get a nice extra overflow boost as well. Okay, so a quick how to play Fran. If you have not at least 2-3'd her, you will need to start with your skill 1 first to give herself her unique buff, as well as apply her unique debuff on the enemy. If you have at least 2-3'd her, then here's where it becomes a little tricky. On like boss waves, for example, I feel most people want to start out with her S2 to get an instant 5 stacks on all enemies, but there's absolutely no need to rush that. Whether she goes first or not, I personally would generally go with her HP++ on her first turn of the wave. It's AoE brave damage, so it'll increase all the enemies' debuff stacks by 1, and then you just have your next 2 party members, depending on if their attack is AoE or not, hit at least one of the enemies twice to get that up to 5 stacks before her next turn. This allows you to always use her abilities in their plus versions, unless the enemy cleanses debuffs of course. If an enemy does cleanse their debuffs, there are multiple ways to get back to 5 stacks, but the most important thing to keep in mind is her party members can also increase the stacks once the debuff is applied, and you only need one of the enemies to be at 5 stacks to get back her plus versions of her abilities. If your EX is up, use it. It will inflict 3 stacks of the debuff to all enemies, and then have your 2 other party members target the same enemy. This is why AoE abilities are more useful to pair along with her, so you don't have to worry about it much. But then Fran will be back to her plus versions on her very next turn. If your EX is not up, I generally would use skill 1 to reapply the debuff, have at least one of my party members hit that enemy, and if her EX is back up, then she will get to 5 stacks right afterwards. Otherwise, you can still HP++ with Fran, have your party members help to get it to 5 before her next turn, and then you can use her plus EX ability on that turn. I generally try to avoid using her non-plus version of skill 2, since it will hit a lot weaker without the ranged resist down, and it hits really hard when it's there. So if done properly, the worst case scenario would be that it will take 2 of Fran's turns to get an enemy back to 5 stacks. It should never take 3 of her turns. That just means you're spreading your attacks out too much and didn't focus on getting at least one enemy up to 5 stacks first. Alright, so since we're already on the topic, let's just start with her cons first. If it wasn't obvious, her primary con is her debuff stacking mechanic. And without her debuff at 5 stacks, she becomes a gimped lady without her plus abilities, and you get no ranged imperil for her or your party members either. Meaning, if an enemy cleanses unique debuffs a lot, she pretty much is useless for that fight, or you have to constantly keep rebuilding her stacks. But it's really not that bad otherwise, especially if you at least 2-3'd her, since it just takes one of Fran's turns before she has plus abilities for the rest of the wave. You definitely should not be letting the debuff drop off, that's for sure. I feel it's so easy to upkeep you would almost have to intentionally let the debuff fall off for it to go off. Also, her skill usage isn't that much either, but she does have 3 recovery uses of her skill 2, and her EX is lightning fast, so when played properly, you shouldn't really have a longevity issue. Her HP pluses is decent enough to hold you in between turns as well, especially when there are multiple enemies. Okay, so on to Fran's pros. I already mentioned how fast her EX is multiple times already, and it also hits damn hard with the ranged weakness. And when running with Selphies or a buff or removing Fran's 2 speed passive, it has the 1 ability EX recharge rate. And since she's generally hitting weakness, she will bring the good damage, while also being that debuff goddess with so many debuffs rolled up into one unique debuff, and her attack and magic attack down generic debuffs, as well as the potential for 2 more debuffs for her E-slots, as mentioned before, that could make her a pseudo dispeller. You can also bring her with other strong debuffers to stack alongside her unique one, as well as to neuter bosses, or bring a full range team to take advantage of her ranged imperil, and we all know what weapon type Aranea is. And if you at least 2-3'd Fran, her automatic applied debuffs at the start of each wave allows your team to start at full potential right out the gate, with the likes of like Vanille and Sarah, whose auras proc when an enemy is debuffed. So my final thoughts on Fran? Was she worth all of those resources I spent? Of course not. No one is worth 790 tickets and 65k gems. But this was never a meta pool to begin with. I originally planned to pity her because number 1, just look at that costume. My god. But mainly because I like Fran, and her kit is very interesting and allows for a lot of fun mechanics. She brings the debuffs, she has a nice max brave aura for her DPS, while only having 2 unique buffs on herself, so she fits into many team comps and is open to receiving any generic buffs, which she for sure would appreciate since she's still not exactly capping even with weakness. She can create a full ranged monstrosity team with Aranea, or just have fun with other ranged units as well. Slap her with other teammates with strong debuffs and watch bosses do next to no damage, or watch their max brave be next to nothing. Fran can be part of a meme team that can actually make some bosses literally have 0 brave. But in the end, she is not game breaking, especially due to the debuff stacking mechanic, but an overall very solid unit that brings the damage and debuffs. Okay, so let's showcase what she can do finally. Originally, my video would have had her run in her own LC Chaos, but since I've already done that using her 35 CP only, which if you're curious I will link the video in the description below, so I will be taking her to the X-Death Chaos fight actually. So even though I took my planned team of Balthier and Selphie with her to that fight, it just didn't feel the same without her EX, so I'm going to run back the same team here, and show what she's truly made of with her EX. So let's finally do this. And we can take Respoina here. And let's see what she's truly made of and see what the most expensive unit on my roster has to offer. So you can see they start off with the 2 stacks of the debuff already applied, We can go ahead and make that 3 with Balthier right here. And I can just HP plus to make that 4. And since Balthier is going to go first, he'll get one of them to 5th stack, so I can wall here with Selphie, avoid getting broken. Look at that damage. That's nothing. This is also with Selphie's wall, but Jesus Christ. So we're going to go ahead and get Balthier's EX up. And that's 5 stacks. See, this guy's at 4, but as long as there's one that's at 5, then Fran has her plus abilities all right there. And we'll go ahead and just break in order. And let's go ahead and get Selphie's buff up, as well as her EX. And here we go. Both of them can go into 1 ability EX rotations with Selphie. It's gonna be insane. Let's get her EX up. And get the debuffs on. And here we go. Just gonna use this to get his EX up. And it's about to get smashed. She actually does more damage with 2 units. That was a weird angle. Cameraman kind of screwed up there. Final wave. So we're not going to want to get broken when they have their auras up. Let's go ahead and... Oh, my EX isn't up because the turtles didn't get another turn, so let's just go ahead and HP plus for my EX up, and I'll get 3 stacks over here. And we'll just HP plus again. We'll get left guy to 4 stacks. And I'm gonna want to drain with Selphie, so that drain or HP plus. Let's go with drain. Get to the 5 stacks. So now Fran has plus abilities. Let's get their debuffs on. Oh, nice. 0 damage. EX. Okay, wow. I was not expecting 0 damage there. But that's beautiful. Let's go ahead and just break both of them here in order. And her beautiful EX. Ooh. Kiss of death. Now they're ready for their 1 EX ability recharge again. Okay, they're starting to do more damage here. Doesn't look like I want to break that guy with the aura either now. So let's just leave. Ooh, I kind of want to use my EX though. It's okay, let's just leave that person alone. Yeah, let's just leave that person alone. Uh-huh. It's nice to have non-AoE abilities, at least for this. Ow. Ow, dude. Now I can EX. Let's wall up. Refresh. And I can EX here. I hope that all attack is an HP one. Otherwise, Selphie's in trouble. Oh, all good. All good. Now let's steal your buff. Heal myself up, get aura up. Let's deal some balance damage. I want to heal myself up more. Let's go ahead and shave both of them down. And we're gonna steal his buff and break them both. Get off my debuff as well. It's kind of an interesting utility of Balthier's kit. He can cleanse his own debuffs. And let's go ahead and get my EX up, shall we? Yep, should be good. One ability EXs are beautiful. Oh, it's so beautiful to use it now. I didn't think I'd get it. Ooh, let's unbreak A because Selphie wouldn't be able to break A. Nope, that wasn't an unbreak, damn it. I think I'm gonna wanna do it again. Break them both. We're up again. Okay, that person's gonna do an all HP attack. And I don't want to break them either. Let's just not take the break here then. Oh, it's a miss anyways. Kinda wanna HP attack this person. I think I can take one break. Well, nah, let's not risk it. Selphie's not the best healer. And let's get our EX up. Yeah. Almost max damage. Now I can use my EX. Let's wall back up. And let's dump it. Dump that brave. I'd say the cameraman really knows the angles to shoot for Fran. Nice miss. Heal up. Steal that buff. And we should be good to use. I have Aura up, so I'm not going to use C65 yet. But I do want to reapply their debuffs, so I will go ahead. $900 brave damage. Hopefully I can deal with it. Nice miss. Let's go ahead and just HP plus. Uh-oh. We know what time it is now. Summon time. I would use her C65, but she has Aura on, so... Should Selphie have Aura next? I'm not sure. I think best to just summon now. Yep. So that I can use an ability with the Aura still left on. Beautiful damage here. You can see that she doesn't hit 9s. She needs attack auras too, even with weakness. That's just a problem. Let's reapply wall here. Let's go ahead and deal the most damage we can. And here we go. I'm gonna go ahead and use my C65. She's not gonna cap anyways, and there's no aura on her right now, so. And time to freeze them. Heal up now. Let's do... I want this guy to go so that his aura is off. I don't want to keep getting countered every time. So let's not break him. We'll let him go. Now we can freeze them again. Let's go ahead and drain, heal up. Well, no, I don't want to get broken. That HP regen is annoying. Let's get Balthier back in here. I don't want him healing all the time. I have aura, right? Yep. I'm gonna want to use an ability here then. Get the debuffs back on too. I really need Balthier to get those buffs off. Doing no brave damage. Let's freeze him one last time. And heal. Goodbye. I'm gonna take those buffs now, thank you very much. I don't have aura anymore, right? Nope. And heal more up. Aura back up, and then they'll get their one ability EX recharge again. Wow, they're missing a lot. Uh-oh. Break counter. We'll let Selphie deal with that person. Yo. Kinda wanna take your buffs away. Here, let's do this. Oh, I'm out. That would've been nice to steal his brave and not be hit so hard. So let's just brave attack here. Yeah, waste of aura, but it's okay. I'm gonna have to let that break counter go away. The heals are annoying. This is over though. This is over. Let's go ahead and just use this again. Not like that last aura would have done anything anyways. But it will benefit Balthier, her AA. Ooh. What you gonna do now? Let's go ahead and use this. Hopefully it comes out of break with all these free turns from Selphie. Beautiful Selphie. Perfect. Perfect. Look at all the skills left. Stole all your buffs too. Deal with it. Well, that could be a dangerous fight actually. But obviously Fran is synergy. So there's a little bit of synergy bias here, but I love the one ability EX recharge. She does have her speed passives on just because I ran her with Selphie, but you could remove them if you wanted the same idea, just you do lose a little bit of attack. And Balthier of course is pretty good for this fight because their buffs can be annoying as well. As you can see when Setzer was in, their buffs were annoying me. So this was actually quite a good team for both Fran's LC and XS Chaos. I do hope you learned something about Fran and how good she is and how worth or not worth those amount of resources I spent on her, but in the end, I mentioned before, I'm really happy I have her EX. I'm really happy for all the support from the community, as well as from Brian again in helping me get her EX, and I hope this video is worth it. And thanks all for watching, and see you all next time. Next up for sure is Lightning Waifu 33 Purple video, how to play Lightning. I'll see you then. Bye.